Good morning. I'm LB, your Director of Music and Worship Arts. I use the pronouns he, him, and his. And we begin today with Finlandia. This is my song, number 159 in the Gray Hymnals. It is an opportunity for us to share that even when things are feeling pretty bad, there's still a lot to be happy about. But we don't have the exclusive right to be proud of us over everybody else. Everybody's got that right. So please join together in singing This Is My Song. This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for lands afar and mine. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. But other hearts in other lands are beating with hopes and dreams as true and high as mine. My country's skies are bluer than the ocean, and sunlight beams on clover leaf and pine. But other lands have sunlight too, and clover, and skies are everywhere as blue as mine. Oh, hear my song, thou of all the nations, a song of peace for their land and for mine. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Greater Lansing. We affirm that Black Lives Matter. We recognize that our building is on the ancestral, traditional, and contemporary lands of the Anishinaabeg Three Fires Confederacy of Ojibwa, Odawa, and Potawatomi peoples, land that was ceded in the 1819 Treaty of Saginaw. We gather not because someone says that we should, but because of our sense of community. We gather not in spite of our differences, but to celebrate them. We come from various socioeconomic backgrounds and sexual orientations. We have different abilities and different racial, ethnic, and gender identities. We're all ages, and we find that we're infinitely more fabulous when we can bring all of who we are to this church. This is what makes our time sacred, and this is what makes our ground holy. So whoever you are and wherever you are on your spiritual journey, we welcome you. I'd like to invite Amy Geichert to the lectern to make an announcement on behalf of the board.
Good morning. Volunteers are urgently and immediately needed to participate in safety and cleanup walks around church grounds in the mornings, Monday through Thursday, from 7:45 to 9 a.m., when the Refugee Development Center is starting up. This effort is to support the church's duty to RDC to provide a secure and orderly work and learning site for their families and children. To learn more and to find out how to sign up, please see Michael Dashline or Mike Nestel after the service at their table in the social hall. Thank you.
Next week after the service, there will be an informational meeting here in the sanctuary. For information on these and other items of interest, check your weekly email newsletter or our website, uulansing.org. And of course, join us for coffee and conversation in the social hall right after the service. We'll take a moment now and greet everybody who's watching at home, either live or later in the week, and then greet each other here in the sanctuary. We are one with all life. We are one with the mother. We are one with the light. We are one with the forest and all the sea and sky. We are one with all people. We are one, you and I.
Good morning. My name is Nick Rowse, and I would invite Diane to come up and help me by lighting the chalice. We light this symbol of our community for the light of truth, the warmth of love, and the fire of commitment.
This morning's story is called Giving Thanks, a Native American Good Morning Message by Chief Jake Swamp. The words in this book are based on the Thanksgiving address, an ancient message of peace and appreciation of Mother Earth and all her inhabitants. These words of thanks come to us from the Native people known as the Haudenosaunee, also known as the Iroquois, or Six Nations: Mohawk, Oneida, Cayuga, Onondaga, Seneca, and Tuscarora. The people of the Six Nations are from upstate New York and Canada. These words are still spoken at ceremonial and governmental gatherings held by the Six Nations. Children, too, are taught to greet the world each morning by saying thank you to all living things. They learn that according to Native American tradition, people everywhere are embraced as family. Our diversity, like all the wonders of nature, is truly a gift for which we are thankful. So this story requires group participation. So after each statement is read, we all respond with, "Now our minds are one." Let's try it once. Now our minds are one. So, to be a human being is an honor, and we offer thanksgiving for all the gifts of life. Now our minds are one. Mother Earth, we thank you for giving us everything we need. Now our minds are one. Thank you for the deep blue waters around Mother Earth, for you are the force that takes thirst away from all living things. Now our minds are one. We give thanks to green grasses that feel so good against our bare feet, for the cool beauty you bring to Mother Earth's floor. Now our minds are one. Thank you, good foods from Mother Earth, our life sustainers, for making us happy when we are hungry. Now our minds are one. Fruits and berries, we thank you for your color and sweetness. We are all thankful to good medicine herbs for healing us when we are sick. Now our minds are one. Thank you, all the animals in the world, for keeping our precious forests clean. Now our minds are one. All the trees in the world, we are thankful for the shade and the warmth you give us. Now our minds are one. Thank you, all the birds in the world, for singing your beautiful songs for all to enjoy. Now our minds are one. We give thanks to you, gentle four winds, for bringing clean air for us to breathe from all four directions. Now our minds are one. Thank you, Grandfather Thunder beings, for bringing rains to help all living things grow. Now our minds are one. Elder Brother Sun, we send thanks for shining your light and warming Mother Earth. Now our minds are one. Thank you, Grandmother Moon, for growing full every month to light the darkness for children and sparkling waters. Now our minds are one. We give thanks, twinkling stars, for making the night sky so beautiful and for sprinkling morning dewdrops on the plants. Now our minds are one. Spirit protectors of our past and present, we thank you for showing us ways to live in peace and harmony with one another. Now our minds are one. And most of all, thank you, Great Spirit, for giving us all these wonderful gifts so we will be happy and healthy every day and every night. And now our minds are one.
And now the students and their volunteers will go to the activity down the hall while the rest of us sing. Shall go out with joy, and forth with peace. The mountains and the hills will break forth before you. These shouts of joy, and all the trees of the field will clap their hands. And all the trees of the field will clap their hands. The trees of the field will clap their hands. The trees of the field will clap their hands. And you'll go out with joy.
For many people in this country, yesterday was celebrated with fireworks, parades, and public gatherings to remember the beginning of the United States of America. When I was younger, I too loved to watch the fireworks and hear the loud booms. Now, I avoid being near fireworks which really are a simulation of warfare. Simply by watching the news shows, one can view actual bombs bursting in the air over many countries. Why do we continue to celebrate warfare? Now I much prefer to the silent display of fireflies flashing in my backyard at dusk with the silent flying of bats overhead catching mosquitoes. I prefer the quiet sounds of very special places like the places like the 1 million acre Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness of northern Minnesota and the smallest of our national wilderness at 6 acres, Pelican Island in northern Florida. So go out and enjoy these quiet places and understand why they need our help. Our speaker this morning, Jordan Apodaca, will ask the question, how should we feel about America right now? It's a very appropriate time to really think about this question, especially as we approach the midterm elections. There are so many things that you can do, such as talking with your friends and neighbors, placing signs in your front yard, and financially supporting your candidates who you want to be elected. So get involved, never lose hope for this country. And as Jordan will remind us, build something better in community.
This week, we were notified of the passing of Julia Tarsa, one of our beloved congregants, who died at the end of last month. Julia will be missed by her large and loving family, including Kevin Tarsa, who served here as interim music minister in 2013-2014. We light a candle this morning to honor Julia and her life. And now is the time when we focus what's on our mind, our cares and concerns, our joys and sorrows. Infuse these little touchstones with all the energy and then send them out into the universe. We'll invite you to come forward in 3 rows here, and whether you've been coming here just today is your very first time or have been here since 1963, we invite you all to participate as you choose. Let the ritual begin. ask Nick to drop a few more stones in for those at home and for all of the unexpressed cares and joys here in this room. We continue our section on meditation and prayer with a meditation in song. Please join together in singing number 1002 in the Teal hymnals, Comfort Me. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Hear me, hear me, hear me, oh my soul. Hear me, hear me, hear me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul.
Good morning. My name is Renee Swanson, and my pronouns are she and her. I'm sorry. Our special plate collection for the month of July is for RDC Refugee Development Center's Globe Camp, and its name well describes this unique camp. Executive Director of the RDC, Erica Brown Binion, was unable to be here this morning, but she gave me her words, and that's what I will be reading today. Imagine a place where children from Afghanistan, Congo, Syria, Haiti, Burma, Venezuela, and dozens of other countries begin each day together, not as strangers, but as friends. That's Globe Camp. Every summer, for 10 weeks, dozens of children from around the globe gather at the RDC Newcomer Center, right on our premises, for an experience that is entirely free for families and rich in opportunity, discovery, and belonging. The day begins with greetings in multiple languages. Campers arrive and share a breakfast snack while catching up with friends. You might hear Arabic, Swahili, Spanish, Dari, French, Burmese, and English, all within a few feet of each other. What could seem like differences quietly become strengths as children learn from one another's stories, cultures, and experiences. After breakfast, the campus comes alive. A soccer game breaks out on the field. In another room, students carefully guide fabric through sewing machines, learning skills from community volunteers while sharing stories about traditions from their home countries. Down the hall, children take turns in a driving simulator, practicing safe driving skills and imagining the independence that awaits them in the future. The learning continues through beyond the walls. On weekly field trips, campers visit Michigan State University, museums, parks, libraries, and community organizations throughout mid-Michigan. For many children, these experiences, these trips are their first opportunity to help them envision new possibilities for their future. They begin to see themselves not only as newcomers, but as future college students, leaders, artists, scientists, business owners, and community builders. When lunchtime arrives, everyone gathers together. Every meal, every field trip, every activity, every supply, and every experience is provided at no cost to families. For 10 weeks, Globe Camp removes barriers and creates opportunities. But the true magic of Globe Camp isn't found in the activities themselves. It's found in the friendships. It's found in the child who arrives shy and uncertain and leaves with confidence. It's found in the friendships formed between children who grew up in different continents but now laugh together on the soccer field. It's found in the moments when young people realize that while their journeys may be different, they belong to the same community. Globe Camp is more than a summer program. It's a celebration of cultures, a bridge between communities, and a powerful example of what happens when children are given the opportunity to learn, explore, create, and grow together. Every summer, we are not only supporting hundreds of children, we are building a stronger, more connected, and more welcoming community for all of us. Erica also said that she and other staff would be honored to give interested folks a tour of their programs. You can contact her at ebrown@rdclansing.org. A couple months ago, several UU members attended the annual RDC Thrive Dinner and Awards. I've been volunteering for a few years in their English language classes, and this event is always inspiring. Think about your own comfort level or that of your children speaking in front of a crowd. The children of all ages who receive leadership awards often have only learned to speak English not very long ago at all. And yet they volunteer to speak, to thank their teachers profusely, and to testify as to the support and acceptance they have found at classes and at camp. Thank you for supporting this critical program for RDC youth.
It is our practice to give generously of our time, talents, and treasure to this church, and to share those gifts with our community partners. On the backs of the chairs are pockets with envelopes for donations that can go into the baskets as they pass. You can also donate online using the web address or QR code as shown on the screen above. Please designate if you would like your donation to go to the church's general fund, the endowment, or the special plate recipient for July, the RDC Globe Camp. All undesignated contributions will go to the RDC Globe Camp. We will now gratefully receive this morning's offerings. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jordan Apodaca. My pronouns are he, him, and his. And today, I want to talk about yesterday, which was obviously the 4th of July. I hope that everyone had a good and fun, lovely time with family and with friends. And as we gather now, and as the smoke from the fireworks yesterday still lingers in the air, and with the 250th birthday of America at hand, it really does feel like a good time to ask the question, how should we feel about America as Unitarian Universalists right now? On the one hand, I can understand feeling like there's a lot to celebrate. Speaking of birthdays, I reread some of Common Sense by Thomas Paine, and he said these stirring words to motivate people to join the revolution way back then. He said, "We have it in our power to begin the world over again. A situation similar to the present has not appeared since the days of Noah until now. The birthday of a new world is at hand." That's exciting. And this birth of a new nation was built on some amazing principles. If you look to the Declaration of Independence, which, fun fact, 2 of the signers came from our background. John Adams was a Unitarian, Benjamin Rush was a Universalist, and those 2 streams later converged into Unitarian Universalism. But if you look at the Declaration of Independence, some of the ideas are so powerful within it. The idea that all people are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is worth celebrating. Even Frederick Douglass, a man who had escaped slavery and later became one of the leading abolitionists, still spoke highly of the founding of this country. On July 5th, 1852, exactly 174 years ago, he said, "Fellow citizens, I am not lacking in respect for the fathers of this republic. The signers of the Declaration of Independence were brave men. It does not often happen to a nation to raise at one time such a number of truly great men. They were statesmen, patriots, and heroes, and for the good they did and the principles they contended for, I will unite with you to honor their memory." And he referred in that same speech, 174 years ago to the day, to the Constitution as a glorious liberty document. It sounds like there's a lot to celebrate. But the main thrust of his argument in that speech was this question. He asked, are the great principles of political freedom and of natural justice that are embodied in that Declaration of Independence, are they extended to us? He continued, "I say it with a sad sense of the disparity between us. I am not included within the pale of glorious anniversary. Your high independence only reveals the immeasurable distance between us. The blessings in which you this day rejoice are not enjoyed in common. This 4th of July is yours, not mine. You may rejoice, I must mourn." So how should we feel? Gratitude for ideals of liberty, democratic aspiration, religious freedom, abolitionist struggle, civil rights, communities of courage like this one. Grief for slavery, indigenous dispossession, economic exploitation, ecological harm, continued racism that just a few weeks ago sanctioned by the Supreme Court to suppress black voters. Anger, not just cynical outrage, but moral betrayal at the fact that this country has made such great promises and continually fails to live up to them. Responsibility, we inherit so many blessings and privilege, and we also inherit unfinished work to continue. And hope, not because America is innocent, but because people within this country have again and again called it back toward justice. And hope is actually the note that Frederick Douglass ended his speech on that day. He said, "Allow me to say, in spite of the dark picture I have this day presented on the state of this nation, I do not despair of this country. There are forces in operation which must inevitably work the downfall of slavery. The arm of the Lord is not shortened," he said, "and the doom of slavery is certain. I therefore leave off where I began, with hope." And so the answer to the question, how should we feel about America, is not a simple one to answer at all. And it matters. I'm sure there have been times when you felt a lot of despair. How useful do you feel like you are to your neighbor in those moments? And there may have been times when you were more apathetic. Again, how useful are you in those moments? How we feel has a direct impact on our ability to fight against injustice. So what I want to do with this message is hold up a symbol from one of our religious traditions, and I hope you will find that this symbol gives language, shape, and productive direction for these conflicting emotions. And to introduce this symbol, I want you to imagine if you knew that we would be starting a brand new country very shortly, what kinds of stories would you tell to remind the people of what's most important? Or how would you retell old stories with a new emphasis? Think of everything that's gone wrong. Think of what you want to make sure that future generations know beyond a shadow of a doubt. What would you include? How would you tell those stories? And what's really interesting is that according to most biblical scholars, this is the situation that Israel was in during and after their captivity in Babylon. As soon as they were captured, they got to work under the leadership of Ezra to begin codifying their beliefs in scriptures. So when you think of like the Old Testament, that current shape that it has really took place during and after the Babylonian exile. Many of the stories were quite old. They were brought to them in different fragments and mainly through just sharing the stories around campfires, essentially. But it was codified during that time. And they did something very interesting and very obvious, but it often gets lost in translation. They inserted the story of Babylon, their captors, way back in Genesis. So many of us are familiar with the story of the Tower of Babel. In Hebrew, that word is used hundreds of times, but it's only translated as Babel twice in Genesis chapter 11. The rest of the time is translated as Babylon, but it's the exact same word. So now imagine you're back in your home country, you're going to the rebuilt temple, and you're hearing these religious stories that you've heard before, but perhaps now with a new twist. You hear a tale of hubris and pride and seeking to build a needlessly tall building up to the heavens. And you realize they're talking about Babylon. And the word that they chose is actually very similar to another word in Hebrew, which means to confuse, babbling. So there's some wordplay between Babylon and confusion. And maybe in your mind you start wondering, what is the significance of seeing this oppressive power that we've just escaped from as not only in our immediate past, but also in the distant past? And what is the value in understanding that this evil empire has existed even longer than I thought that it did? And why are they almost making fun of it by saying that it's this confused, babbling empire? You might go home and ponder this. You might even think about the significance of where they ended up putting this story. Because half of the art of putting together a religious text is not only choosing which stories to include, but in what order to tell them. Chapter 12 of Genesis, right after chapter 11, which is the Tower of Babel/Babylon, Abraham is told to leave. He says, get out of your country, from your family, and from your father's house to a land that I will show you. And as your mind wonders about all these different questions, I want us to travel into the future. It's now many years after this person named Jesus was with us. He died an agonizing death, though in all the ways that matter, his spirit lives on. And now in this new place that we're stopped on our little time traveling journey, your hometown has been ransacked. Even the temple you worship at has been destroyed, again. And the people are scared. They're not sure what's going to happen. Rome has destroyed the temple. What do you tell them? How do you encourage them? What types of stories do you tell now? Well, if you're the author of the book of Revelation, you pull a similar move that you've seen before. You pick up this language of Babylon once again. And you tell them, remember the captivity of Babylon, how that defined our experience as a people? Remember how that stretched way back into the mythic past to frame our history? Well, it's also coming forward into the present. Rome, this empire that destroyed our temple, is just another Babylon. And the author draws the comparison very artistically in the book of Revelation by referring through apocalyptic language and symbols and metaphor to Babylon as the city built on 7 hills. Rome was famous for being built on 7 hills. And so the comparison is very obvious to you as you read that. And despite what you might want to think, The whole book of Revelation is first and foremost a look at the present. Apocalypse means unveiling. It's a pulling back the curtain to see the true spiritual meaning behind the chaos and corruption of the day. Rome is not Rome in the book of Revelation. It's Babylon. It's an ancient empire, and it seems to be this empire that never fully dies. It goes all the way back to as long as humanity had empires. Even when it dies, it keeps popping back up. And so through this symbolic reading, what do we learn about Babylon? What do we learn about empires that might help us today? I want to read a couple of portions from Revelation 18, where kind of after building up Babylon throughout all of Revelation as like this great evil thing, we finally get to a pretty specific list of things they had done to deserve this comparison. And so these are direct quotes straight from Revelation 18. It says, "Fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great. As she glorified herself and lived luxuriously, so give her a like measure of torment and grief. And the kings of the earth, who lived in luxury with her, will weep and wail over her when they see the smoke of her burning. And the merchants of the earth weep and mourn for her, since no one buys their cargo anymore, cargo of gold, silver, jewels and pearls, fine linen, purple, silk, and scarlet, all kinds of scented wood, all articles of ivory, all articles of costly wood, bronze, iron, marble, cinnamon, spice, incense, myrrh, frankincense, wine, olive oil, choice flour and wheat, cattle and sheep, horses and chariots, slaves and human lives. The merchants of these wares, who grew wealthy from her, will stand far off in fear of her torment, weeping and mourning aloud, Alas, alas, the great city, for in 1 hour all this wealth has been laid waste." What is the great evil for which Babylon is being punished? It's all economic excess and exploitation. In Christopher R. Smith's article, Reclaiming the Social Justice Message of Revelation, he helps us understand what's going on here. One first-century source, Pliny the Elder, offers a list of Roman imports that contain items very similar to this exact list of goods in Revelation 18. He says that the presentation here of the excess and greed and what was being imported is strictly literal. He says, quote, that a symbolic depiction of Rome's commerce would almost be too lenient when the reality is so graphic. It's just sheer excess. He points out, Rome's luxury trade wasted human potential. Fully half of the population of some villages was devoted to the purple industry, which meant sitting for hours over a shellfish called a murex while the blood was extracted 1 drop at a time. The demand for fashionable, ostentatious goods created or dislocated workers into jobs which were boring, unfulfilling, and dehumanizing. Most of Rome's gold and silver, he said, came from mines in Spain. Many of them confiscated from their owners. Slaves who worked these mines had brief life expectancies. As for the pearls that were listed in that list, divers from India risked their lives to secure them. The amount of wheat imported to the Roman populace, an estimated 400,000 tons of grain each year, also suggests exploitation. The author of Revelation isn't just listing that in there for fun. 200,000 families in Rome ate free imported grain, while many children in Egypt, one of the most fertile regions in that empire that they got all the grain from, starved. And the list climaxes with the worst forms of exploitation. Slaves, most likely from subjugated people or from breeding slaves. It also mentions, which is kind of interesting, it says slaves and human lives, which probably refers to people reserved for gladiatorial shows and other forms of death to entertain the public. They would take criminals, prisoners of war, the lowest slaves, and commonly use them for such shows. So when you think back to the mythic Tower of Babel, I would suggest that their great evil wasn't trying to reach the heavens. In a way, that's kind of cool. The biggest problem was the greed and excess and exploitation of workers that went with it. And there is in this text, in Revelation 18, a very strong statement on interdependence that is implied. Because we are all interconnected, part of one organic unity, we cannot indulge in greed and excess without harming every other living thing. To the people in Rome, they thought, literally, one scholar notes, that silk just grew on trees. They had no clue where it came from and the human lives that were affected in their desire to have so much. And so what can we do? Many people would shrug their shoulders and say something about how, yeah, there's nothing we can do. It's affected everything, we're hopeless. We're just going to be doomed to be in the cycle where we all hurt one another. The author of Revelation didn't think that way. He gives a specific answer to this question. He says, this is verse 4 in Revelation 18. Then I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, so that you do not take part in her sins." So the answer, in the author's mind, is to leave. Be separate. Don't partake in her sins. Don't be complicit. I think that the main moral thrust of this chapter and of the imagery of Babylon and empire as a whole is to do whatever you can to not be complicit in the sins of empire. And so now, with that context set, I can explain what the full symbol is. The symbol has two parts in one relation. The first part is Babylon, which represents empire, greed, excess, and really the dark side of the interdependence of all things. It's easy to think of interdependence as this very soft, fluffy idea. It's like, yeah, we're all connected. That's great. Like, yes, it's also horrifying. If we are all connected, that means that my excess genuinely can hurt someone else. So that's Babylon. That's empire. It represents what happens when you do not respect the web of life that connects us all, but instead trample on that web. The second part of the symbol is us. Anyone who wants to live well, do the right thing, and have true respect for the interdependence of all life. And the third part of the symbol is just the relationship between the two. The imagery is of us leaving Babylon. It's an arrow pointing away, moving away from it. If you want a more graphic symbol, you can picture someone running for their life away from an empire that's falling apart. And this symbol represents the refusal to be complicit in the evils of empire, and it's a movement to imagine and do something new and better. And the applications of this symbol can go a lot of different directions. You can get very specific. I think we would be failing to take this idea seriously and not consider how we practically, day-to-day, spend money. Revelation 18 is 100% about how the spending of wealth has this negative ripple effect. So questions you might consider: in what ways can I opt out of businesses and practices that harm? In what ways does the interdependence of all life reflect or change what we buy, who we buy from, and how often? Does it lead to just greater simplicity in life? I think of the Taoist quote that in the practice of the Tao, every day something is removed. What can be removed? If we accept the premise that America is an empire built on greed and excess, it's not that big of a leap to think that we might be caught up in it as well. Simplicity becomes not just a way for greater peace of mind, but it's an act of rebellion against the empire. These questions should be asked not from guilt or desire to be perfect, but from a desire to respect our interdependence and to move steps in the right direction. I do agree that we'll never be 100% free from complicity in anybody's wrongs. The web is woven far too intricately to do so perfectly, but it's about respect, awareness, and knowing how our purchasing decisions do play a part in wider webs of corruption. And not just knowing it in our heads, but being willing, like Abraham, to leave home, to leave behind the logic and habits of empire, and to build something new. The simplest way to practice non-complicity with empire is to strategically boycott. Following Rosa Parks' arrest for not giving up her seat, there was the Montgomery bus boycott. Thousands of people changed their spending habits so that they could refuse to use the established bus system in Montgomery for over a year straight. They refused to participate in the empire of the Montgomery bus system, so to speak. They left. They envisioned something new by carpooling and relying on Black-owned taxi companies. It's like, okay, this sounds great. Do I just get to pat myself on the back for being a little bit less complicit? Is that all that happens? The boycott did 4 things at once. First, it allowed them, yes, to have a clean conscience by knowing they weren't complicit in systems that discriminated against the black community in their city. 2, it directly supported black businesses. 3, it caused the bus company to lose between 30,000 and 40,000 fares daily. And 4, it led to a court ruling that segregation on buses was unconstitutional. It works. Some of the most powerful changes come by just refusing to participate. But then the second big piece here that I want us to walk away with is hope. What do we know about Babylon? The Tower of Babel fell. It's kind of the main thing that it's known for. Rome, the most powerful empire, it took a long time, but it collapsed as well. The literal Babylonian Empire fell. To paraphrase the quote from Frederick Douglass that I quoted earlier, I do not despair for our country. There are forces in operation still today which must inevitably work the downfall of Babylon. The arm of the Lord is not shortened. The doom of all systems of oppression is certain. I therefore leave off today where I began, with hope. 2 things are certain. A new Babylon will always rise, and a new Babylon will always fall. And so we shouldn't be surprised if there are new things that we have to keep learning to be less complicit. One of the things I appreciate about Unitarian Universalism is it's very anti-apocalyptic. We don't really believe that there's going to be this horrible end-of-the-world scenario, kind of like tribulation. We also don't believe that there's going to be this utopia that suddenly exists. How it is now is kind of how it's going to continue to be. There will be evil forces that rise up, and we will fight them, and they will fall. And that's going to continue. It makes me think of a quote from the musician Noah Kahan. He said, "I saw the end, and it looked just like the middle." The fight's going to continue. So have hope. Don't take this empire, its fireworks, its UFC fights on the lawn too seriously. Remember how when they rewrote the story of Babel, they intentionally chose a word to mock them. The big, bad Babylonian Empire was rewritten as a blundering, babbling, confused group of fools. It's all going to fall apart. All attempts at empire do. So laugh at them. Refuse to be complicit where you can. Leave Babylon. Build something better in your community. And think of how you can keep Babylon out of you. The last thing that I'll say is that I think that it is important to think of it in this order. It's tempting to skip the step of understanding where the thought of empire, the cultural values of America seep into us and just say, let's just go build something better. Let's focus on our communities. Let's just think of something better. But unless you do the work of realizing what you were brought up with, what you intentionally want to leave behind, you might just accidentally start rebuilding the same thing. Thank you.
As Jordan said, we need to find new ways of doing things. Or as UU composer Martha Sandifer says, we need to be building a new way. Let's sing together. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, our world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. And now let's join together in saying together the the mission of this church in unison as our benediction. As a religious community inspired by awe and wonder, we nurture spiritual growth, connect in authentic, loving relationships, and engage in courageous work for peace and justice. Our worship is over. Let our service begin.